Our movie here starts by the introduction of the ID7 virus. The ID7 is a virus that makes people lose their minds to a point where they want to kill pretty much everybody. And since its breakout, anybody that does anything under the influence of the virus is acquitted of all charges because they have absolutely no emotional control whatsoever. And what does this virus have to do with our boy Derek Cho here? Well, Derek is a lawyer who argued the first case of the ID7 virus and won. And it's because of him that people with the virus are not held liable to the things that they do. And this is Derek in his natural habitat, talking to clients, taking phone calls, and talking to people who are pretending to be lawyers. And speaking of people who pretend to be lawyers, this is Melanie Cross. And she's here pretending to be a lawyer because the company that Derek works for has foreclosed on her house and she's here to ask for an extension on the payments. And of course, Derek figures out that she's not really a lawyer and he tells her that there is no way that she can get her house back. And then he calls security and they escort her out. And in a bit, as Derek was looking for his favorite mug, his assistant tells him about how she heard Kara talking to their boss about how he ruined the Vandercorp files. A file that he never really worked on and is not really responsible for. And at this point, we learn that the ID7 virus has made its way in Derek's office. And not only is the virus present in Derek's office, it's made its way through the entire company. And as the virus was coursing its way through the veins of everybody in the company, Derek heads over to Kara. She's basically the employee that has the boss's ear, and she handles all the office politics, so everybody's pretty terrified of her. Derek confronts her and also finds out that she's the one that took his favorite mug, and then they go to see John Towers, the boss. And John tells Derek, even though it's the company that made the mistake with the files and not necessarily Derek himself, they need a fall guy. They need somebody to throw under the bridge, and it's gonna be Derek. So Derek heads over to his buddy Ewan for emotional support. Ewan's like his best bud in the office. And as Derek was telling him of the situation, Kara all of a sudden gets there and she tells Derek that he's fired. So now Derek gets a visit from Lester the Ripper from HR, who's gonna fire him. But as he tries to fire him and make him sign a few papers, Derek refuses. And so, as he was being escorted out of the building by security, a bunch of cars pull up by the company, and so many police officers and people in hazmat suits quarantine the entire building. And someone from the CDC informs the boss, John Towers, that the ID7 virus has been detected in their building and that nobody can leave for the next 8 hours, and that they've released some kind of antidote through the ventilation systems, but until those 8 hours are up, everybody's gonna start to lose their minds. And since they're all infected, they do start to lose their minds. Derek starts a fight in the lobby, his buddy Ewan stops him, and then Derek starts to go off about how this is unfair and he wants to meet the board of directors. They call them the Nine. But Ewan tells him that these people are really bad people and they're gonna do something really bad to him if he goes there. But since they're all now infected with a virus that causes moral decay and poor judgments, Derek decides to go up anyways. So he gets in the elevator to reach the top floor, but the elevator stops midway, and he is greeted by Colton Snyder, head of security, and the boss's unofficial left hook. Colton starts playing with Derek's body as if it's a punching bag, and Derek gets a call from the boss who tells him, I'm not really gonna let you up here because you're gonna kill us and you're probably thinking that you can get away with it because of that case that you solved that gives people impunity as long as they're infected. And so, the boss decides to have Colton break a few of his bones, and as Colton was doing that, Derek's buddy Ewan makes an entrance and starts punching some of the guards, but then Colton kills him immediately. And after killing Ewan, he knocks out Derek and he puts him in some kind of storage room. And when Derek comes to, he realizes that he's not alone. You remember that lady that he got escorted out of the building? The one that pretended to be a lawyer? Apparently, before security could get her out of the building, it got quarantined, so they put her in this storage room. And after spitting on each other and punching each other a little bit, Melanie and Derek come to an agreement. You see, Melanie wants her house back, and the lady that foreclosed on her house is Irene Smythe, and she is in the penthouse with all the 9 board of directors, and Derek wants to get there. So they make an arrangement to get to the penthouse together, and when they get there, Derek gets to plead his case to the 9, and Melanie gets to have her way with Irene Smythe. So after they get to their little agreement, Derek finds a phone in the storage room, and guess who he decides to call? He calls Vandercorp, and he reaches the CEO, and he tells him everything. And the CEO guy calls John Towers and tells him that they're no longer his client, and they are not gonna be paying bills from now. And of course, John loses his mind and sends a few security guards to kill Derek. But when the security guards get there, Derek kills the both of them. And since they're in the storage room, Melanie and Derek arm themselves with a few hammers and pliers and handheld electronic saws. But to get to the top floor, they're gonna need a bunch of key cards that they do not have. So to get their first key card, they go to Lester's office. And when they make it inside, Lester stabs Derek in the hand with some scissors, and as he was making his way, trying to kill Melanie with her own nail gun, she cuts open his heart with that saw that I told you about. And after they use his key card to get to another level on the building, now they need another key card to get to the penthouse. And this key card is only located with Kara. And Kara gets a call from the boss who tells her that as long as she doesn't give the key card to Derek, she'll be promoted to partner. And she tells the boss that she's gonna throw the card away, but she makes her assistant carry it instead. And Derek and Melanie now only have 4 hours to get to the penthouse. Because after 4 hours, they're gonna be cured from the virus and they're gonna be held liable to everything they do after. When they get to Kara's office, she confronts them with an entourage of people who are willing to fight for her. And Derek and Melanie kill every last one. And they get inside of Kara's office, and Kara wants to negotiate. She tells him that she'll give him the key card, and she calls her assistant over, and her assistant does give him the key card, but it's a burnt piece of plastic now. And when Kara asks her why she burnt it, she tells her it's because the people upstairs gave the assistant a call and offered her the promotion to destroy the keycard, because they knew that Kara would betray them. And when you think that Derek probably has no reason to keep Kara alive anymore and he should kill her, her assistant kills her instead, because nobody at the office likes Kara. And now that they're stuck in her office without a keycard and nowhere to go, Melanie and Derek decide to bump uglies. And after which, Derek gets this bright idea to go visit the IT guy. And they make him hack into Irene Smythe's computer and take all of her files. So now, Derek and Melanie have a lot to bargain with. And since those files mean a lot to Irene Smythe, they call her up and they tell her that they'll exchange the files for a keycard. And why would Irene risk her own life and the lives of everybody upstairs, you might ask? That's because they let her choose where to meet up. And the security guard that kicked Derek's ass has a gun hidden in that meeting room, so they're gonna use that gun and kill both of them and take the file back. At least that's what the plan was. Because when Irene Smythe gets there, Derek and Melanie have already found the gun. And after they make Irene give the keycard, Melanie tries to make her sign over the papers that pertain to her house. But Irene tells her that even if they make her sign it, she's gonna plead temporary insanity and have the papers dismissed. And this is when the very paranoid and pissed off Melanie destroys the hard drive that contains all of Irene's files. And as Melanie gets up to torture and wipe the floor with Irene's ass, Derek gets a visit from Colton, who starts beating the crap out of him. And after beating up Derek really well, he tries to pepper spray him to death, but Derek cleverly opens his mouth and the pepper spray goes into his mouth, and then he spits it back out onto Colton's face, and then as Colton was disoriented, Derek stabs him with a screwdriver and kills him. And if you're asking yourself, doesn't it hurt to get pepper sprayed in the mouth? Yeah, it really does. And meanwhile, with Irene and Melanie, Irene tells Melanie that the key card is pointless if they don't have the access codes. And then Irene makes Derek a proposition. She asks him to give over Melanie to her because Melanie destroyed years of her work and a lot of money has now been wasted. And then, and only then, will Irene give them the access codes. They only have about 25 minutes until the quarantine ends, so if she holds on for 25 minutes or more, none of them are gonna get what they want. So, as Melanie was about to bash in Irene's head, Derek knocks out Melanie, and he ties her up so that Irene tortures her. And after he does that, Irene gives him the access codes and she gets him to the elevator. And in the elevator, before it closes, Derek shows Irene a bunch of screws. And even though he tied her up in front of Irene, he's apparently unscrewed all the hinges, and Melanie is free. So, I guess it's appropriate to say goodbye to Miss Irene Smythe. So it's now the final showdown. Derek makes it to the top floor, but when he gets there, it's a celebration. Champagne popping off, and if you're wondering why this is, it's because the board of directors don't want to die in the hands of a maniac. And they've decided, if they can't beat him, they have to let him join them. So they offer him a package deal to be partner. And Derek looks through said package and just refuses. So now he has to square off with the boss, John Towers. And after John kicks his ass a bit, Derek gets in a few punches, and with 1 minute left until the quarantine ends, John's own partners and friends decide that their lives mean more to them than his. So they give Derek the signal to throw John off the top floor. And finally, Derek gets to plead his case, And not only do the board of directors give him his job back, they offer him John's position. And he takes it just to make an executive decision and sign Melanie's house back to her. And then he quits and walks out of the building with Melanie in his hand, like a boss. And that's how the movie comes to an end, boys and girls. Remember to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel. I will see you on the next recap. I love you guys so much. Bye.